My guest today is doing something really exciting. She is heading off on a cross-Canada trek, and she doesn't know where she's going to be sleeping. That's part of the adventure. Jen Kelly joins me today. She's a friend from the Puttyverse originally, but now she's also in the Indie Life Collective, so a few of you may recognize her from one or the other, or both. Jen is based in British Columbia, Canada. And when we talked, she was in Penticton, which is in the interior of British Columbia, kind of the south central part of the province. And it was a temporary-ish stop. She was there for about a week or two on part of this cross-Canada trek. So Jen is really interested in this idea of accommodation sharing. It's not just kind of couch surfing and, you're traveling around, you're looking for a place to stay. It's really something more than that. Even though it may be temporary stops in her case, it's really about studying how people live together and how they find other people to live with, which, as we talk about today, when you think about it, really does get harder and harder kind of the older you get. You have maybe a smaller circle of friends and family gets dispersed, and it's kind of like, well, how do you really find people to live with when you want to live with people, and of course when you need to, which comes back to a whole other question in these days of the availability of accommodation and the costs and sharing houses and apartments and things like that. I mean, it does start to get into quite a complex question and challenge for people, for sure, of simply finding a place to live and who are you going to live with. And it's remarkable when you think about it, the notion that you need a place to live and someone to live with, and maybe you've known them for like a short time. I mean, maybe just a few hours or something. And it's like, or maybe you go and visit someone's apartment, of course, they're looking for a roommate. And, you visit and you look around and, okay, this looks good. Great, I'll sign, I'll move in. And it's like, do you even know the person that you're going to be living with, right? It's kind of crazy when you think about it. So Jen recognized that this is a problem. It's a challenge for people to find roommates and people they want to live with, right? And share that kind of lifestyle. So her mission is to really help people find, I guess you could say, better roommates, but roommates and housemates that make sense, that they have a good, solid relationship and starting point on, essentially that they know each other better and can make really good qualified decisions on who they want to live with. So to do so, she's kind of experimenting with this herself as she travels across the country, and it's in turn part of researching a book that she wants to write on this topic as well. So fascinating conversation. I'll leave it there because let's get into it and you'll hear what she has to say. But this is a very live, kind of vivid, in the moment conversation. I mean, we were talking while she was at a public library in Penticton. We didn't turn the camera on because she was kind of moving around and there's people in the background and stuff. So it's audio only. I throw some, if you're watching on YouTube, I throw some pictures in too, so you can kind of get a sense of where she is. But it's part of the dynamic nature of our conversations is that she's very much in the moment of living and experiencing this right now as she pursues this journey. So let's dive in. You'll hear all about it. It's lots of fun. Well, here we are. I am joined by Jen. Now, first off, welcome to the show, Jen Kelly. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you, Ted. I look forward to chatting about what I'm up to.
Yes, great. Anyone who's following us on YouTube, you should see a nice image or two over the course of this because we're just doing audio only. And largely that's because we're also experimenting with something here. Jen is currently in Penticton, British Columbia, and in the interior of British Columbia. And you're at a library, right? A public library?
Yep, the public library.
Yep. And so she's just on her phone and she's kind of moving around and it may get noisy. We may kind of pop in and out. If you're hearing the final version of this, of course, it'll be edited, but you might hear some sounds kind of popping in and out because this is a very dynamic recording that we're trying today and something new and exciting. And really it comes back to the nature of our conversation, I think, which is your trip. And, it's a very kind of spontaneous, dynamic, follow your nose type thing. So that's what I'm very curious to learn about, and we'll kind of go from there. So let us know what brought you to Penticton, I suppose, first of all.
Okay, yeah, it is dynamic, and it's like a day-by-day thing. It's kind of like building the plane after it has taken off. So I was living in Victoria, BC, and I moved out of my place April 30th of this year. And I thought since I'm in BC, I would start here. I'm doing a cross-Canada research tour for a book about shared living and like ways of, sharing space over longer periods of time in various forms, whether it's at home or in a workspace or maybe branch into other things. But yeah, that's the gist of it. So I'm starting in BC because this is an obvious place. And I was just looking at back when I was first thinking about this trip, I was looking at in around the January area. I was
Mm.
thinking, well, maybe I should book some hostels just in case. I don't know how organized I'm going to be by the time I move out of Victoria. And I booked a hostel in Kelowna, didn't know anything about it. Then I was like, okay, where would I go after that? I would go to Penticton, booked hostel in Penticton. So the idea is that I would be staying with hosts, not in
Yeah.
hostels. That's the ideal idea, but I'm
Hmm.
still getting the word out for the whole thing. So yeah.
So the place you're staying now, you say you booked it back in over the winter or more recently?
Yeah. Yeah. I booked it in
Okay.
January because the way the hostels work, it's like when there's no bookings happening, you get a lower price, lower
Ah,
rate. But when you get closer to the date and there are more bookings, then the prices go up. Yeah. I forget what that's called,
right.
but structure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a good idea. So how long, or at least how long have you booked to stay right now in Penticton?
For 2 weeks. So I just arrived
Okay.
yesterday, I think. It feels like a long time. But yeah, it was a gorgeous, oh my God, the bus ride from Kelowna to Pendington was just like so
Mm.
incredible, like just mountains and lakes and just so much beauty. I was
Yep.
just amazed. I was thinking, wow, I should have come here before.
It is a nice area, yeah. It's been a
Yeah.
long time since I was there, but we're talking about the interior of British Columbia, is what the locals call it. If you see it on the map, it's kind of south central part of the province, but it's actually known, and you'll start to see some of that there, as the only, I think, the only kind of desert area of Canada, especially as you get closer to the U.S. border. It really is quite desert conditions. It's quite dry. It's famous for its vineyards and orchards. There, a lot of fresh fruit comes from that area. It's a really, really nice area.
Yeah, the mountains, like just the way they look, because I'm used to seeing, around Vancouver and Victoria, the mountains are different. Like they're more on the green side, except when
Mm.
it gets snowy and stuff. But here they're really kind of like they reminds me of California mountains. They're kind of browner. Everything looks super dry. And honestly, my skin
Yep.
has been the driest it's ever been in my life. Like it's
Huh.
it's really strange.
Yeah, that's right. Because there's kind of a microclimate there. That's right.
Yeah,
Huh.
so I actually have to I've been putting like lip balm on my knuckles and stuff. It's that bad.
So the trip, I mean, I wasn't sure if you were kind of setting out to kind of see more of Canada type thing, or is it really for this objective to see how far you can get as far as, yeah, how do you really call it? Describe it like accommodation sharing?
Yeah, definitely. It'd be like for 1 week at a time. This is my
Mm.
thought, because a week is a good, for several reasons. It's a good amount of time for people to just get to know each other. There's been some science around how many days it takes for you to not feel like the other person is a stranger anymore.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And that's something I would love to test actually, because I think the research is saying like 3 or 4 days. And I think I've seen that happen more quickly. But anyway, that's
Hmm.
just one of the things I would love to discuss with people. So yeah, it would just allow us to kind of see what emerges while we're sharing the place. Kind of like I'm being a housemate kind of person, sort of
Hmm.
self-sufficient, cooking for myself and like working full time still. It's not like I need to be entertained and stuff like that. So
Right, right.
yeah, so a week allows us to really get a sense of like what's this experience like? What do we want to talk about in terms of the book, like the book research? And
Hmm.
it also is to test out a model for trialing. Like if you're thinking, oh, I'd love to live with somebody, but I'm not sure, in terms of
Oh,
housemate
yeah.
situation, it would be like a way to add to the book a guide for doing like a 1 week trial kind of thing. And how
Yeah.
would that go and what would it look like?
That's a great idea. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I guess first question now is for all of us listening, it sounds a lot like couch surfing. Is that
Yeah.
kind of what it is or something different?
Yeah. I mean, I don't even need a couch, but yeah, that's what it is. I mean, I can
Right.
bring like a mat, like a camping mat type of thing. But that's what it is for sure. Yeah.
Well, in that sense, do you use that website, Couchsurfing? I'm not sure how widespread it is, really, in Canada at least.
Oh yeah, it used to be. I looked into it actually, and it looks like it lost some popularity at some point because I think some people were trying to use it to date or something. I forget.
Mm.
Something like that. It started to veer in another direction. And there are other apps now that people use. I forget what they're called for couch surfing, but I was thinking more in terms of like a broad sample of people, maybe in my own network, like my broader network. that might want to volunteer to participate in this, and also like more intentional communities, because
Yeah.
they're part of this whole scene. They're not the only thing my book is about, but they're like an obvious group of people. So I have had quite a bit of interest in Ontario. That's where I have the most
Hmm.
interest, including an intentional neighborhood in Guelph, and yeah, people involved in community land trusts and stuff like that. So I definitely would like to include those. I would just love to include a good cross section, like people who are just want a roommate, or
Right.
housemate, and people who are a lot more serious.
Okay, so that seems to separate it from the couch surfing type model, which is, I mean, as far as I know, at least is more about kind of temporary travelers and backpackers and stuff who are probably only staying in a place for a couple of days or whatever. And your thing is like, although it may be temporary, it's kind of to give people, is this it? Is it's to give people a chance to try to find more long term roommates and housemates?
Yeah, like I find personally, I'm really like I love sharing homes with people. It's something I've been
Hmm.
doing since I was quite young. And I noticed at some point around middle age, it didn't flow as easily, like just to find good matches and stuff. So that's part of my
Yeah.
motivation for this is there is next to no process for finding a housemate. I mean, compared to everything else we do in our lives, like including buying, products, there's really like
Yeah.
you might talk on the phone once and then visit once and then you decide to live together, you're handing over like your first rent check.
Yeah.
And it just
That's
feels
interesting.
like
Yeah.
that's a huge problem. So part of what I'd love to do in this book is include for the 1 week trial idea, more of a process and more of like maybe even more awareness of how enjoyable and maybe easier it can be. Like I think
Mm.
there's a lot of thoughts that people have around it that's like, oh, that's going to be really hard, things like that. So I just
Mm.
love to challenge some of the assumptions that are out there at the moment.
How do you go about connecting then with people and getting this idea out there as you're traveling that you're not just looking for a place to stay as you move across the country, but there's a whole concept here behind what you're doing that's even going to manifest into a book, that this is much more substantial thing. So how do you make those connections in the first place, these actual real people in person?
Yeah, well, word of mouth has been probably the most successful thing so far, just
Hmm.
because honestly, part of my reason to pick this project up now, I had actually started writing the book before 2020, but the reason I'm
Oh,
picking
yeah.
it up again now is because there's just been increasing energy like over the last 6 months or more around in my own network of people telling me about exciting, co-living or shared living kind of projects and stuff.
Yeah.
And then my idea was to have a website that would communicate everything because there
Mm.
are like some extra details. It's not just of one thing, it's got different dimensions to it. So my learning curve while I have been in Kelowna, for example, has been to see how my communication is working, my written communication versus the word of mouth verbal stuff. And
Mm.
yeah, that's been like definitely a big learning. so so I think I was trying to start with wording that was like the most simple and obvious, but in the end the wording wasn't the most accurate. Like I was
Mm.
using the word host and I was like, that's not really what's happening. So just having
Yeah.
to
It's
kind of,
tricky.
yeah. So while I'm out here, I'm trying to figure out how to explain it still. So I think I'm on a better track now. I'm getting a bit more response now. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's definitely part of the learning for sure.
I suppose part of it too then is a collaborative effort with the people you meet who understand the concept once they understand and they get it, and they can help you develop it, find some of that language, right? And other ways to reach people, I guess. But I like that idea too, that people can collaborate beyond just having or sharing the a place for people to stay, right? But they can help spread the concept itself too.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing that I'm doing parallel to this, which also relates to the whole process of finding housemates and things like that, is to create a network. Like this is what I would love to happen is have offers and needs markets, which is how I
Mm.
know you. And the fact we're talking right now shows the power of those. So yeah, so just basically like kind of like an ask and give kind of exchange themed around, shared living and related things, like which there are many related things like, gardening, pet stuff, communication stuff. It goes all
Mm.
over the place. So I would love to do those locally, like I would love to do one in Penticton. And so there could be a network across Canada for people who are like-minded and who can find each other more easily within their cities and also when they're moving between look,
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure, yeah. Well, I think from what I remember, like logistically, it was kind of as you travel across the country. The challenge in all this is like, well, the organization and kind of in getting the word out. So imagine you show up in Calgary or something like that, having announced that there will be some offers and needs style get together where people who are looking for housing and people who have housing to offer, and that's if we focus on the housing side. As you say, there's other potential topics, but if that was the focus, and it gets people together like to meet each other and to start that vetting process, see if they hit it off, to see what kind of their plans are, and basically to get a feel for someone if they're going to be trustworthy and reliable enough. So in itself, like, it's a fabulous concept. And then I love the idea of you like traveling across the country, making these events happening. So it sounds great. I know logistically it's a challenge because how do you get the word out there to make sure that people actually know about it? But are those plans kind of starting to materialize a bit in your thinking?
Yeah, so in Kelowna is where I started to learn the things about this that I didn't foresee. I thought I would just use meetup.com and libraries in Victoria, you can rent space for free. So that was kind of my idea. I thought meetup.com was going to be free and the libraries would be free. And when I was in Kelowna, I found out Meetup is not free. It's only free if you're just like starting with it, which I'm not. And then the library was going to be like $75 or something like that for a couple hours.
Yeah.
So now I'm just kind of researching other ways. And so I've already joined, like in Penticton, I'm joined a Facebook group for locals helping locals. And I'm going to go to the farmer's market tomorrow and just getting a sense of the lay of the land and hoping that maybe in my hostel, they have a really nice space that maybe we can hold an event there. But yeah, I'm just feeling everything out right now.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's a wonderful concept. Putting into reality is the challenge. But I mean, there's such a need there. That's where I think that's what's driving this is obviously people have a need for roommates, especially these days. Things are so expensive and all the rest. And how do you find these people? So if that's the starting point, I like to think that you'll find, at least a widespread community that wants to make this happen in some shape or form.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people are more interested in it now for various reasons than they used to be, because I think like 10 years ago, this was not so much like I didn't hear about it. And now I'm hearing about it like on, CBC podcasts and other podcasts completely. There's a famous astrologer that I heard her talking about this stuff. And I was like, what? What's going on? Like really crossing over. And then she actually had an intentional communities like kind of person that she takes people on tours of eco villages around the world. So the astrologer had her on her show to talk about intentional communities, which I thought was like very unusual. So yeah, definitely getting out there more now. Yeah. So I think maybe there's more interest for all the reasons you mentioned and a lot of people just wanting more community and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting summer. So I'm curious, well, I guess going back a bit, like what were you doing before you left Victoria, just generally? Like how were you able in your life to be able to kind of up and go and take off for months like this? That's an amazing opportunity in and of itself.
Yeah. Well, because I left my apartment, like I've ended my lease. So that is like the big thing that makes it kind of equalizes pretty much things. And yeah, I was doing life purpose coaching, like helping people figure out meaningful work through voice messaging sessions, like over long periods of time, which is again related to this whole theme, but not as obvious, but like 24-hour sessions with people where you just message and kind of living together, like life flowing alongside each other.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So yeah, I was definitely not based. It was all virtual stuff. So it's easy to be mobile.
Yeah, interesting. Well, okay, so then the next question is like, are you able to work and juggle some odds and ends like that while you're moving around?
I might be able to. I was hoping that I could. Like at the very minimum, I'm going to be doing some fundraising kind of work. So I am working now on collecting a bundle, so to speak, of different offers from different kinds of entrepreneurs to put together and to offer that to people to buy at a low, kind of like a low price type of deal for fundraising for the trip. I was thinking I would do some coaching as well, but it might have to be kind of with the caveat that I'm not just full time doing 24-hour
Yeah.
coaching. It's kind of like it's like while I'm out here doing all this other stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Can people follow your journey in any way? I mean, are you a, Instagram user or any of these things?
Yeah, I do use Instagram. I haven't started posting about it yet, but I will be posting. I might be sharing a website space with somebody actually. Speaking of sharing space, there's
Cool.
someone who lives in Kamloops offered me to put updates of my journey on a space on her website. So I will put that on my social media if that goes ahead. And otherwise, yeah, Instagram, Facebook, and I might start using Substack, but haven't
Yeah,
yet.
that would be an
Yeah,
interesting one.
yeah.
Huh. I've been talking to a lot of people about Substack lately, and it's been around for a little while, but it does seem to be growing momentum. And honestly, I think for what it's worth, it's the place for the most meaningful, kind of deeper information, right? And that's not just the information that we create, but that's what people are looking for. They don't want the short little videos and 30-second clips and superficial stuff. They want to really dig into something that's deeper. And in Substack's case, yes, it can be in written form. You can also do audio or video, I suppose. Like there's different mediums. You can put it all in one place. It goes out in email and all that kind of stuff. But it's I'd be interested to see who you could find in that space after a while, a few weeks, I guess, at least of writing, but to see who resonates with that and the kind of community that can grow from that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have an account on there, and I think I have like 5 followers when I have not posted a single thing yet. So it might be like a good sign.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And then how are you getting around? Like, clearly you don't have a car, right?
Yeah. So far I've been getting around by bus, and I would probably be flying. I mean, depending on, I would love to, go to Alberta and Saskatchewan. I'm in conversation with a couple, or no, one person who knows somebody in Saskatchewan who might be interested. And same thing in Alberta. But if nothing pans out in those provinces, I would fly to Ontario. That's where there is by far the most interest. So it all depends.
Mm.
Yeah.
It suggests that you need a like ride sharing type program as well, which is a different kind of audience. But I mean, to facilitate not just co-living and stuff, but also co-sharing of rides, right?
Oh, right.
Helping
Good
get
point.
around.
Very good point. Yeah,
Uh,
you reminded me. I have looked into Papa Ride. Have you heard of that one?
no,
Ride
popper ride.
sharing? Yeah, like POPA ride, Papa Ride.
Okay,
I
I'll
might
pop.
try them out. Where it's like where you share ride. It's a ride sharing thing. Yeah, yeah. So I completely forgot about that. But yeah, I definitely would love to try that too.
So, like, yeah, as I say, I mean, I don't know how does it look for the end of this trip? Do you imagine in the end you wind up back in Victoria, or you're looking to settle somewhere else, or just kind of follow your nose?
Sort of like the backup plan is probably go back to the rainy coast, whichever, I don't know if it would be Victoria or Vancouver or somewhere in that area for the winter, because this tour would go till October unless it loses steam before then. But yeah, I
Hmm.
would probably want to avoid the really cold winter. I've been spoiled
Mm,
for 10 years out here, more than 10 years, and my stuff's in Victoria. But I
yeah.
am trying to figure out where do I actually want to live, and I'm not sure yet. Like the bigger picture of where do I really want to be in my life. So I'm definitely like open as I explore everything, and I'm open to other countries. Even for this
Oh, yeah.
tour, like if something works out and it fits to leave Canada, I would consider that
Mm,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's the story.
I suppose it's kind of the nature of the idea. Obviously, it goes across borders and all over the place. So, when you talk about like Substack or any of these online presence and the people you can connect with and resonate with what you're doing, well, they could be anywhere. They could be in any country. So
Yeah.
then not necessarily mean you're going to go there, but that's where you could find there's suddenly a pocket of interest in, I guess, some corner of the United States or Australia or whatever it is, right?
Well, yeah, since you mention it, yeah, there are two people who have invited me to come stay at their place in the United States, which I'm not
Okay.
sure if I will or not. And then someone in Germany invited me to go there. So
Oh, nice.
so it's interesting. It's like everywhere but BC, which is kind of a like surprising thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and of course, you can come stay with us here for a few days if you make it just past Montreal.
Yeah, I would love to. That'd be great.
So I'm curious then, let's say it's basically October and you're looking back over this trip. I mean, what do you want to have accomplished by then, ideally?
By then, I would love to have a good amount of research. Like, I mean, 20 weeks would be the ideal thing, where I have spent the week with, 20 different households and really collected a lot of information about what it was like, what worked, what didn't work, what's it like, kind of like, what's the journey like of the 1 week stay, like what happens when a bunch of people get thrown together for a week. Because I'm very interested in like archetypes and archetypal journeys. So part of me's long been curious about collective journeys and things like that. This is mostly like documenting and researching, and then the actual writing will come later. And my thoughts around the writing is to have, if it makes sense, I will need to talk to a writing coach, but I would love to have multiple collaborators, like that have different perspectives to co-write with me, so that we kind of embody a community of people. So people from like Indigenous perspective or disability perspective or newcomer perspective, stuff like that. That would be super fun. If I could make that work, that would be great. But at the minimum, one co-writer, and then we would write together after I'm done with this tour and this research.
Do you think it'll be someone ideally you would meet on the trip?
Could be, yeah. Could be.
It reminds me of, I read I guess, autobiography just a few weeks ago by Anne and Nancy Wilson, the band Heart. And coincidentally spent a lot of time in Vancouver. But it really is a great story. I love them and their story. But the way they wrote this book, because they wrote it together. And so they would alternate back and forth with each chapter. And essentially, the memoir was in chronological order, of course, but then they would each have their version of essentially the same events that happened. They grew up in a military family and they moved all around the States and so on. And so, Anne would have her perspective, and she was 5 years older than Nancy. So Nancy had her perspective, being younger in different schools and stuff. And yet they always came back to the same place, and then the book moved forward. It was really interesting the way they set it up. So I can imagine you doing something like that where, I mean, at least in theory, where you're taking the same, maybe the same even story, the same place or destination or something like that, but your perspective and then your co-writer's perspective of kind of the same thing, but you get to see those different angles. It was really neat.
That is brilliant. I love that. I love that idea. Yeah. So cool. I'm going to have to check out that book. Yeah,
I'll send it to you. Okay, well, the main thing, of course, with our podcast here is we want to connect people, and you're in an incredible, fabulous position here of actively wanting to connect with people, more than most of our guests. I mean, everybody does in some shape or form, but you're really actively looking for it, and obviously for this particular topic and theme. So when you meet somebody at a hostel, right, or wherever it may be, where do you tell them to go to learn more about you and what you're doing?
So right now I'm directing people to a website called sharedlivingbctour.card with 2 R's.co. Okay. Because I'm in the BC portion of it. And then that links to the main website as well, which is colivingtour.card with 2 R's.co. And the social media links are at the bottom of the first link that I mentioned. Although there's not much there yet, but there will be.
Is there an email, I guess, where people can reach you?
Yeah, naturebeings@protonmail.com.
Okay. So essentially, anyone listening to this for sure, but if people are really intrigued by this idea, and here's the thing, I know you're thinking, well, hey, I don't live in Canada or wherever you happen to be listening from, but surely, like anywhere you are in the world, if you're interested in this idea, and I gather it's kind of at the stage now, obviously feeling it out and just having the conversations about what this kind of thing could look like. So if you are listening from Europe or Australia or whatever, then, you can still kind of pursue that where you live. If you do happen to live in Canada, particularly Western Canada, then hopefully you can, of course, connect with Jen in person. But are people welcome to email you to kind of pursue the conversations, I guess, about this topic?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'm also having just chats for the sake of, the joy of chatting about this topic. That is just an end in itself always. But also, just to give more details, but always no pressure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm always open to chats for sure. And I can chat like live or asynchronously or any way people want.
Sure, yeah. That's great. Cool. Well, we'll have all the links, of course, here in the descriptions and etc. And I'm really curious to see how this plays out over the course of summer. It's a great time to travel. It's going to be busy out there in Canada this summer. I wonder how much that'll have an impact because, there's going to be a lot of tourists. The Canadians are exploring Canada, especially this summer. So that'll be interesting.
In the World Cup.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll have a great time.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to mention also, I am ideally looking for 1 week stays, but I would also do like shorter stays, to set up the offers and needs markets and things like that. And I have to go back. One of the reasons I keep hanging around here in BC right now is because I have to go back to Vancouver later this month for just personal unrelated things. So otherwise I might just be taking off to Ontario. But if anybody, for even just a couple nights or whatever in southwestern BC, we could chat about that, explore that as a possibility. But again, no pressure ever.
Yeah, for sure. How do you define a short stay then in your context?
Like 1 or 2 nights.
Okay.
Yep.
I wasn't sure if short meant like 2 weeks and
Oh no. 1 week is the long one. Is like pretty much the maximum. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, we'll put all that in the notes here again and keep in touch. Yeah, for sure. Curious to see how this pans out.
Well, thank you for your interest, Ted. I so appreciate it. And you've been so supportive this whole time.
Yeah.
You helped me figure out how I was going to tailor this offers and needs market thing. So
Neat.
That was big. Yeah.
That's great. I love offers and needs, and it's great to see it in action and see it in action in a different way. That's really intrigues me with what you're doing. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Well, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so as you heard, it's a really exciting project. I mean, there's all kinds of potential. I think there's a really deep need to tap into of how to figure this out, how to connect people together for the sake of living together and sharing accommodation, right? This comes back to offers and needs, but for a specific purpose. I love to talk about offers and needs markets and exchanges here. I've run quite a few myself, and it's often just kind of a generic thing, whatever people happen to do for work or interest, and swapping and exchanging skills and experience. Well, in Jen's case here, it's really something more specific. It's about people who are offering accommodation. They need housemates, people, of course, who need accommodation. They're looking for a good place to live with people that make sense to live with. Well, how do you connect those people together? This is the challenge. I mean, it's fun and it's definitely possible, but, do you do it online? Can you do it in person? What kind of people are going to show up? So, I mean, really, this is just unfolding. And my sense is that Jen will probably learn a lot this summer through this trip, through this research that she's doing, and maybe we'll kind of see where it goes after that. Maybe there'll be more research or more conversations that she'll need to have going forward, like next year or over the winter kind of thing. My sense is that it's kind of just a start of exploring this topic and how to really bring people together. But fascinating project, and it's exciting to see her get underway. I mean, we talked about this back over the winter, I guess back in kind of January and February of this year, and now she's there. She's actually doing it. It's pretty neat. So we'll probably check in, of course, with Jen, later in the year and kind of see how the summer's turned out. And yeah, hey, if she comes by our place, then maybe we'll do something in person. So stay tuned, and we'll see what happens next. Again, the links for her activities are in the notes here, and any of this speaks to you. And for sure, I mean, if you happen to be in Canada and Western Canada especially, and Jen's coming your way, then definitely reach out. I know that for most of us, myself included, we're actually quite far away, but we can still have conversations with her about this topic and this nature of exploring accommodation, how to find people to live with. So feel free to reach out, have that conversation, and see where it goes. Meanwhile, got some more great conversations, of course, coming up over the next little while. We always kind of see what happens here in the summer, with the multipod. Historically, going back to the start of this show in 2018, I remember the first couple of years, I think we kind of powered through the summer, but then we got to a point, well, the summer's busy. I was working all the time back then, and we often took a break in the summer over July and August, maybe did kind of a replay or a short check-in. That might be the case this year. I don't know. I kind of play it by ear, but I'll certainly try to get some episodes out. And for sure, if you want to have a conversation, Jen, again, great example of someone with a project on the go who wants to share it, talk about it, get some feedback, find some people to connect with about it. If you've got something like that, it could be anything. It could be absolutely anything at all, any kind of area, any interest. Reach out. I'd love to learn about it, share with our listeners and our viewers here. So yeah, whether it's anytime soon, later in the summer, you can definitely reach me. themultipodcast@gmail.com is the email address. If we happen to be connected on social media or any of our common communities, you can send me a message there. And of course, don't forget to visit the website, themultipod.com, where you'll see our archive of episodes and all the links where you can follow and subscribe if you haven't done so already. So thanks for being here, and looking forward to the next one.